What's up, Thumbers? Welcome back to another episode of Cineverse here on Hyper RPG. We've got some fun movies to talk about and some more trailers to watch. What are we watching, Cameron, as you take a sip of your coffee?
We're going to talk about Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, Incredibles 2, and Elizabeth's required viewing pick, which is The Plague Dogs from 1982.
Yeah, and we got some trailers we're going to watching too. Creed 2, Mandy. It's weird. We've been going to the movies almost once or twice every week, and I have not seen, aside from Creed 2, which played before Jurassic World, I haven't seen any of these trailers on anything.
Yeah, no, me neither, which has been very, and even going to like some of the indie movies and stuff like that. So, pretty excited about that. There's definitely some of these trailers I've been kind of waiting to see. Some I didn't even know came out.
Yeah.
So that's exciting.
Yeah. But should we just dive into Jurassic World?
Yes. No. Yeah, we can do that. You go. You start.
Okay. So I don't think it's a secret. I wasn't a big fan of Jurassic World, the first one. You know, Colin Trevorrow was coming in off of Safety Not Guaranteed. He came in, did a whole rewrite on the script and all that sort of stuff. Movie comes out, and did a little background research on that movie. Came to find out how it was sort of made, how it was rushed, and I thought, okay, cool. Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom. He's not directing, but he will be writing it with his writing partner Derek Connolly. It'll be nice to sort of see them making a Jurassic Park movie from beginning to end. And going into this movie, I thought, okay, not crazy about the first one. This one has the potential to hopefully right some of the wrongs, make me care about the characters, make me a little bit more invested in the story. And surprisingly, it didn't. I didn't really care about these characters any more than I did in the last movie.
No.
And I still, to this day, Cameron and I have talked about it at length, is like, who are these characters? And what information do they give me about these characters other than just the obvious of like, what is their role in this movie, specifically, not like who are they, which I think is hugely lacking again in this one.
Yeah, it's a better looking movie than the first one. Jay Bayona is a real good director. He's very stylish, so there's some cool stuff. I was hopeful because actually I really dug the first 5 minutes, this big suspense scene.
It was a great opening, yeah.
With the T-Rex, and I was like, oh, cool. Like, this actually has suspense to it, which I feel like has been lacking in the last couple Jurassic films. And then, man, it just goes... yeah, it really just comes down to the characters. This movie didn't really work for me. It comes down to the characters in that you don't know anything about them, and because you don't know anything about them, other than the actors who are playing them and what they look like, I couldn't care about anything that was happening. Comparing that to the original film, where I think you get to know a lot about those characters, even just by how other people react to them or talk about them, you get to know a lot. And... yeah, I don't know. There's so many decisions made in this movie that are... I kept sitting there watching this movie going like, wait, what? Why? To so many things that I just feel like... it almost feels like nobody was ever there to kind of go, can you tell me why this thing just happened? It's sort of like, it just happens. It needs to happen because it happens.
Yeah.
It's two different movies. It first is like a straight-up Jurassic World... and more like Lost World Jurassic Park sequel, where it's like, we're going back to the island. We don't want to. We got to. And then it becomes like dinosaurs run through a mansion movie in the second half, which sounds like it'd be great. And it was, I was so bored. I was like really bored throughout a lot of the movie. And there's just, again, just try not to spoil anything. There's just decisions made in the movie that I think are baffling. Both the characters make, and then from a screenwriting standpoint. And I'm like, oh my God. I will spoil one thing. The amount you see Jeff Goldblum in the trailer is the amount he's in the movie. Everyone was right about that. That was not untrue. He showed up. He has gone to these Hawaiian trips and everything, and he's doing Q&As with the cast, and it's like, blah, blah, blah. Literally everything you see in the trailer is in the movie. He showed up for a day, and they threw him in two different jackets. So that's that. I don't know. It's like you kind of want to try and stay positive, but I thought this movie was dumb as dog dirt.
Yeah, I think the other thing I will say, I think I liked some of the action stuff in this movie more than Jurassic World. And I think that goes back to Jay Bayona being, I think, just based on what I've seen between the two movies, a more skilled director.
Right.
And I think that there are moments in the movie that because of that, I'm a little bit more engaged than I was with Jurassic World.
Yeah.
Like a week later, like a week removed, I remember more about this movie than I do about Jurassic World. That's not saying much, considering I still don't care enough about the characters. I don't mind where this movie ends.
Right.
I'm interested to see sort of like how you go from the island into sort of what they set up, and how that can influence future movies.
Yeah.
But I'm not crazy about how we got there. Is my big issue.
I don't know if I'm excited about it. I've seen that a lot. I've seen a lot of people online say about like, oh, this movie's not good, and the last one's not good either. But man, where this one ended, I'll see part 3, and I'm like, it's the same creative team. They're gonna bungle it again. Why?
Yeah.
I can give you a great concept, but if you give it to shitty writers, they're gonna shit it.
Yeah. Well, that's what doesn't make me enthusiastic. Is like I'm interested to see where it could go, but I'm not interested in seeing where it's going with this team.
And it also, to some extent, doesn't make sense. Like if the next movie opens and there's like the thing that they're setting up at the end of this one,
which is
I'll
also
be like,
in the trailers, but
I'll be like, wait, what? How?
Yeah.
Like again, like a lot of wait, what? And if you didn't get to see the film,
that's okay.
yeah. We talked about it prior, and I think we probably killed any enthusiasm Elizabeth might have had on it, understandably. Yeah, I don't know. I was kind of hopeful because this was kind of the year, the last 2 years of like not really digging the first film in the series, but then the second one's working for me with John Wick and Deadpool.
Yeah.
So I was kind of hopeful with this one. I was like, maybe with a skilled director, maybe they'll, some of the things they did in the first one, they'll kind of turn left and right some wrongs. But this was like, I don't know. Again, there's so many, and the great cast, but like you just have things where you're just like James Cromwell introduces a character, and it's like, he's Hammond's old partner, and it's like, we've never heard about him.
Well, I was super confused watching the movie because it's been a while since I've seen the originals.
Yeah.
And Jurassic Park is the one I saw the most recently, other than Jurassic World. But the whole time I'm thinking, is this a character that we met in another movie and I forgot? I don't remember at all.
Never mentioned before. Now he's John Hammond's partner. He helped build Jurassic Park. Never mentioned before until part 5.
Yeah.
It's like when the fucking Nightmare on Elm Street series, where it's like, this is Freddy Krueger's wife. Yeah, he had a wife. You didn't know that? You didn't know that for the past 6 movies?
Yeah.
And you know why people didn't know it? Because if it didn't exist, it was stupid as hell. They might as well have called, and they had James Cromwell like grow a white beard, and he has the Hammond cane, and I'm like, okay, I get it. This is
old. I get it.
It's like it's because Attenborough's dead in real life, so they're like, and here's the thing: the script was written after Attenborough died, so it's not like they like wrote the script for
for him,
for John Hammond, and then they're like, oh god, he died! Quick, we got to replace someone with someone named not Hammond.
Right.
But that's pretty much what they did.
Yeah.
And there's just lines again. Like my problem with the first Jurassic World was things like lines of dialogue where the movie was too aware it was a sequel to Jurassic Park, and that there's lines of dialogue like, man, that first park was legit. It's like the first park didn't open.
Yeah.
And so James Cromwell, this isn't the first 10 minutes of the movie. James Cromwell is like walking Bryce Dallas Howard through his mansion home where the rest of the movie is going to happen in the second half. And he's like, downstairs is the lab where me and John first came up with the concept of bringing back dinosaurs and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, John Hammond wasn't a scientist. There's the scene with him and Laura Dern at the dinner table where he's like, oh, when I first came to America, I had a little flea circus that was mechanical. And the people would go, oh, look at the little fleas. Can you see the little fleas, mommy? It's like, John Hammond is Walt Disney. He wasn't a scientist. He wasn't Dr. John Hammond. What do you mean you have a little lab?
I think this movie also tried to, maybe, I don't know. It felt like it, though. It tried to kind of do what Last Jedi did, where it was like, let go of the past, move on from it, let's do something new. And I'm like, ooh, you stumbled real hard trying to sell that.
Oh yeah, they dropped
Whereas
that.
like
They fumbled it.
For me, Last Jedi does it exponentially better.
Yeah.
So yeah, overall this movie, I don't know. I don't want to say I was bored, because I wasn't bored throughout the entire thing. It was a little more entertaining than the first, but still the characters, it's like, I love Chris Pratt, and I really like him and Bryce Dallas Howard. But it's just the things that
Bryce
they
Dallas
say
Howard,
and-
like the fact that they brought them back, which is like, I get that, but it's also like Bryce Dallas Howard is basically a totally new character.
Yeah. Compared to
Like,
the first one, yeah.
There's she's now an activist, and I guess that's her new job, which is like, it's fun. Ian Malcolm's character was not as like charming in Lost World. He's a little more broken, but it's like, well, he went through the events of the first Jurassic Park. He was
Right.
nearly crippled. You can kind of see why he'd be like this. Everyone calls him crazy. The Bryce Dallas Howard change, it like makes no sense, because now she's this animal activist, and the same scene where she's being walked around not Hammond's house. She's like, it's like, we believe they're miracles, Claire, and she goes, I've always thought they're miracles. I still think they do, and I'm like, you tried to sell one to Verizon Wireless in the last movie. Like, that feels like this is a totally different character. It doesn't
Yeah.
even feel like it's the same person.
Yeah.
But they need to like, so it feels like a movie where it's like, just go with this because we had the characters say it. They've
Yeah.
always been like this. Just do it. Chris Pratt goes back to the island kind of just cause.
Yeah.
It's like, you should come back to the island. He's like, nah. and then he's on the plane.
Mhm.
He goes, "Okay, I'll come."
Yeah.
It's a movie that's full of like, why did that happen?
The story said so.
The reasons. Just go,
Yeah.
movie, go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. Again, I like the first 5 minutes, and then, man, it goes. And there are character decisions again that are so dumb. And I get it. Like it's a horror action movie. Sometimes people make dumb character decisions because that's what people do. But it's more like if you're invested in the characters, you can almost kind of go with some of those decisions. This is like there's a character who gets into the cage with the dinosaur that he thinks is knocked out because he wants to try and steal its tooth. And I'm like, and it's not dead. And I'm
Yeah.
like, this is so dumb.
Yeah.
And there's so many lines of exposition.
So has this series essentially become one of those ones that do super well internationally, but no one expects to review it to be reviewed well or taken seriously? Or
Now, oh yeah.
because it kind of seems like that's what they're going for, because like everyone's reviewing it as though it were the original Jurassic Park, but it seems like the studio doesn't give a shit.
Oh yeah,
Like
I don't think it gives a shit.
characters or plot or anything.
Proper
It's just like-
motivation, things that make a movie. It's basically just like look at spectacle.
yeah.
Like they have become better shot Transformers movies,
Yeah.
where it's like this is long. There's gonna be 800 characters and 800
Yeah.
plots, but don't worry about it. Blah blah blah. And there's gonna be a lot of people online who did, like a lot of people who did, say online that they're like, I just like dinosaurs. I just want to see the dinosaurs do stuff. And there's people who like the Transformers movies, despite
Yeah.
the fact that they're like nearly 3 hours long and racist and all these other things because they just want to see robots punch each other through buildings, which is fine. But I'm like, it's 3 hours and it costs $18 to go see that.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, so right now the movie currently stands $797 million worldwide. 193 million of that is domestic, and then the other 604 million is international.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's gonna make $1 billion.
yeah, and I mean the Jurassic World made over $1 billion, huge money.
Yeah.
So, and they've already cemented a date for the third movie. It comes out in 2021, I think.
And Trevorrow's gonna come back in the director's chair for that. Yeah.
Oh, is it? Is it Trevorrow coming back? Oh boy.
So I don't know. It to me it does. It feels a lot like obviously far more expensive versions, but it does feel like a horror movie series where you're just kind of like, oh man, part 1 and part 2. Part 1's the best one. Part 2's kind of like this and the other, blah blah. And then, but they made 8 more sequels, and they're all crap.
Yeah.
It's like the Hellraiser of big budget dinosaur films.
Do you think that this series would have benefited from just starting with Jurassic World and just being a reboot of the franchise, or just like a new take on that same story? But Jurassic World has nothing to do with the original trilogy. Do you think that maybe would have been better to go that route?
Maybe, but I mean, I guess you would have gotten rid of some of the cutesy, I knew John Hammond kind of stuff, but
Yeah.
you're still going to get like paper thin, they're not even characters. That's the thing. Like,
Mhm.
I again, like, if you put a gun to someone's head and go like, what is Chris Pratt's character? They'd be like, he loves the raptor. And I'm like,
Yeah.
well, that's not a character.
You know what it reminds
Blue
me of?
is my favorite.
And I thought
Okay.
this watching the first Jurassic World is they have all these rip-offs of Disney movies that are made in other countries that they put on Amazon to get parents to buy for
Oh,
their kids, where
yeah,
it's just
yeah.
like the Lion Prince, and then it's just like a lion leaves his lions and then comes back for a kingdom, and there's a song about a thing, and
There's
then
usually always like
there's,
a song, one song. Yep.
there's a bird that's blue named something else, and it's just like it's like not even watchable,
Yeah.
but because it's recognizable, they get away with selling some cheaply made thing.
Mhm.
I mean, obviously this is a huge budget, but the way they approach this from the beginning just kind of reminds me of that. Like, oh, in Jurassic Park we had a woman who was kind of like this, so here's
Short
a
hair
version
and a
of
tank
that
top.
woman
Yeah.
Yeah.
and siblings.
Yep. Oh god.
Yeah, I am. Just, once you get to Fallen Kingdom, you're gonna have to tell us what you thought of it.
Yeah.
Eventually.
But yeah, those are just our opinions. If you agree or disagree, let us know. If you liked it, that's totally fine.
It's not invalid either way.
Yeah. So yeah, moving on from that. So I think we're both like, I can't recommend it. I just can't. Just wait till it comes to video. Watch
Sure.
the first 5 minutes and go, "What a great little fan film!" And then turn off the TV and go do other things.
Yeah, yeah. I would say if you want to, if you're not super enthusiastic about it, wait till it comes out on Blu-ray or digital or whatever. If you like watching movies in the theater and you've liked Jurassic World, then
if
go
you
watch
like
it.
air conditioning and like
dark rooms,
junior mints, and sometimes watching things move, but with strangers.
And you're just trying to get away from social
Yeah.
media for a couple hours.
You need to get off of Twitter for 2 hours, sure. I will say the theater that we saw it in, very quiet.
Oh yeah, I will
Like,
say
pins
we
drop.
went Thursday night,
Yeah.
pretty packed house, and all the comedic lines, dead silence.
Yeah. Nothing really hit with the audience.
I always love when it's dead silence except for a guy. Like, have you
You're
been
like, really?
There's always one. There's
Yeah.
always one guy. Yeah, there wasn't even the one guy for this one.
No.
There
No.
wasn't the one guy.
There was
He
no
didn't-
guy.
He stayed home.
He's like, I'm gonna wait till it comes to Blu-ray.
I saw the trailers. I'll pass.
All fast. So moving on from that, we have Pixar's Incredibles 2.
Yeah.
This is the one I did not get a chance to see.
Okay.
So I know. But you two did. You two did.
Oh.
You wanna
Oh,
start?
I'm gonna start. Okay.
Sure, why not? I already talked about it. so-
Okay. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this: where does Incredibles rank in your Pixar list?
I don't know, because like I have to come up with a list and rethink about, like, I don't carry an active list in my, like, I don't know. I wasn't one of those people who said it is my top Pixar,
Right.
but I always really liked it. I love the artwork. I love how it was different. I love how the approach, it definitely stands out from other Pixar films. And I think a good way that's unique to itself. It doesn't have if there's cliches to a Pixar film, it avoids a lot of them.
Right.
All the characters are well developed. They look really well together. The look of the film is amazing. The animated action sequences are amazing. Just the character design and like how they'll have like all those like lines and flash and kind of like old superhero book art in the art direction of the film is great. I thought that they did all of that in the new film, and I really enjoyed it. I think a lot of the sequels that I've seen animation wise have been fine, but not as good. I'm not sure if I'd say this one is as good, but it's very solid.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I heard a couple complaints about that there were like too many arguments amongst the family members at the beginning. I thought all that was done really well.
Like bickering?
Yeah, if anything, I could have seen more of that. I love the family dynamic. I love that it starts with the mom and dad and getting back into it and what that means. I love that they took the end credits sequence, which was like just this amazing arrangement of the original Incredibles theme, and rescored it and added to it. They updated it in a great new way. Yeah, I had a lot of fun.
Adam.
You didn't like it?
I love this movie
okay.
so much. No, I talked about Hyper Heroes. You know, I'd waited 14 years. I don't really know where I would rank The Incredibles in terms of Pixar movies. There's actually a lot of them. I think I was looking at the list. There's 20 movies now, I think.
Yeah.
I think so.
And I've seen, I think, like 12 or 13 of the 20.
I'm probably about the same.
Yeah, like there's movies I still have not seen, like Inside Out.
Good
and-
Dino.
Yeah, I haven't seen that. So there's a few I still need to catch up on. But Incredibles was always pretty high up there for me. That and like the Toy Story movies were always like favorites of mine. So it was pretty high up there. And obviously I have a bias because it's a superhero movie and that's what I love. But going into this, I had pretty high expectations, and I feel like the movie, for me, having those high expectations, it really delivered.
Yeah.
And I thought the animation was incredible. I saw it side by side when they do sort of like the flashback of Violet talking to, oh God, what was his name? Bobby?
Oh, the
The
kid?
boy, the kid,
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't remember.
They
his
do
name.
like a flashback, and they basically redid it in the Incredibles 2 animation style, but then someone did a side by side of what it looks like from Incredibles 1 and 2. It's amazing how much it's changed, the animation.
Yeah.
But it looks so incredibly clean. You can even tell from the costumes, just the shimmer that the costumes have. I thought it looked incredible. It was so well done. The production design, I think they just carried everything over from the first movie so well. And I think the first one, the backgrounds were a little bit more simplistic.
Mm-hmm.
And now in the second movie, we really got to expand that world. Like, they really got to take the animation and really expand it.
And all the sequences are fun.
Yeah.
Like the sequences of them with the new house are
Yep.
just so simple and
Yeah.
fun and well drawn and designed and creative
And I think to your point too, I think I love the bickering. That to
Yeah.
me is like what makes that movie fun.
and I just kind of the husband and wife dynamic and like
Yeah.
here's how we test it, and I don't know, like I had a friend who saw it and it's just like, well, they fought in the first movie. It's like, but about a different thing.
Exactly.
They're still married.
Exactly. And I think that's what's impressive about this movie. It takes place right after the first one, but they're able to so incredibly well take the things that they would like the problems that were between the characters in the first movie and completely shift in a new direction, but not make it like it all feels so just well put together, and it feels like it still can be one big movie essentially.
Yeah.
And it's just like day one in their life, and then day two is completely different, because that's kind of how real life is. Like your problems change from day to day, and new things come into your life. And I thought this handled it really, really well. I'm curious if did you have any problems watching any of the stuff that had like the screen slayer, where it was like super crazy black and white? I know Disney put out a bunch of those like warnings before.
I didn't, but I've never had an issue with that.
Yeah, it was weird watching the second time. I was a little more nauseated by it.
Oh, interesting.
And I saw it with my little cousin, and he was a little freaked out by it. Like there's some parts I'm like, man, this is like loud and kind of scary, but
there's like a power that's like through sort of like a hypnosis thing with the flashing.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, and I guess like they had put out some warnings. I guess it made some people nauseous and gave people some seizures and
they
stuff.
They do keep it to black and white, which does seem like less intense.
Yeah. But overall, yeah, I think the music was incredibly well done.
Yeah.
Again, by Michael Giacchino. At this point, I just hope I don't have to wait another 14 years for a third one. So,
well, do you see them making a third? Because that's the interesting thing. Like, so again, having not seen it, but the interesting thing to me was always that Brad Bird was always fairly insistent that he was not going to make a part two. That he told all the stories he wanted to tell, that he'd done it, and that was it. And blah blah blah. And he was thankful that Pixar wasn't pressuring him to make a part two.
Yeah,
and so on and so forth. And then he does Tomorrowland that bombs so bad, and it's one of the most like written about bombs of the year. And people were like, "Whoop! Well, there went Brad Bird's live action." And then like 6 months later, he's like, "I'm doing Incredibles 2, everybody." Does it have that? And so some criticisms I've seen from people is like, because there's that 14-year wait, it does feel like, again, having not seen it, I did see some criticism. People were like, "Yeah, it's good." It also feels like the movie they just would have put out a year later. It doesn't feel like Bird had been sitting on this idea. Like there was something special to it. Like it's fine.
I would say it's definitely made better and with more planning than a movie that was released a year later.
Yeah.
I feel like this is definitely the film that they could have made for, like, aside, like, the style is very now. They use everything that they have. They're at the top of their game, but in terms of story and plot structure, I think this is absolutely a script that could have come 4 years later.
Yeah.
But I don't have an issue with that per se. I would say, if anything, it's a story that is natural and makes sense versus like, oh, we're forcing this weird thing. It feels like a natural progression up another episode of their lives of a family.
Right.
And like it makes sense how it continues from the last one, but it also doesn't go like cliffhanger, this next thing. And then they don't set up a new film really, I didn't feel like. So if they ever do another one, it's not like, oh no, you all know you're getting a sequel because we did this thing right before. They didn't do any of that.
Yeah, it kind of ends the same way. Like I would say even less of a cliffhanger than the first one.
Yeah.
You know, and like this second one, you could definitely go into a third one easily if you wanted to, but if you never did, it's a great 2-part story.
Yeah.
But yeah, because you know he did that, and then he went to Mission Impossible. So I don't know. I don't necessarily need it next year, but if in like 3 years he's like, all right, I'm gonna go back and make a third one. It'll be out in 2024. I'm like, okay, I'm cool with that.
I think that's the kind of thing, because it seems to sadly kind of happen with the Pixar guys, which is like, Andrew, oh man, I cannot remember his name. Can't remember his name off the top of my head.
Director of John Carter.
He went and does John
Andrew
Carter.
Adamson?
Yeah, I think so. They were like, people were like, when's Finding Nemo? Is there ever going to be a sequel? He's like, no, of course not. And then he does John Carter, which bombs real bad. Then he's like, Finding Dory.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
I never saw Finding Dory.
It was fine.
It was fine.
I don't remember it. It didn't have that sort of like. It didn't have that sort of same feeling as Finding Nemo, where you walked out of it and you're like, oh my god, I love this. I want to see it again. It was fine.
There's a part of it that, because I felt like Finding Nemo more than Incredibles had a this is the end feeling.
Yeah.
So that a sequel called Finding Another Character felt odd.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. Yeah, and I think that's the thing is, like, you know, they ended up making multiple movies based on different Pixar properties, and I think some of them you could totally make sequels of. I personally think Incredibles is one of them. But then they went off and did like multiple Cars sequels, and I know most people did not like those.
Monsters University feels like it kind of came and went.
Yeah, a prequel. I'm like, we really didn't need this. If anything, I would have, if they would have chosen to do a Monsters Inc. sequel with a older Boo.
Yeah,
maybe because the way they sort of ended on a cliffhanger, but I didn't need it. Toy Story is one of the rare ones where I'm like, this is a really great trilogy.
It's really great, and that's why there's concern that they're doing a part 4.
Right.
That they're actively making. Yeah, and I think that's a little bit where I think some people have some frustrations with Pixar. And I share a little bit of the frustration in that they were like, I think like around, let's say, I don't know, 2003 to maybe Up. Up might have been like the last. No, I think actually Toy Story 3. So Up or Toy Story 3, I believe they were. Yeah, like any Pixar movie was like, for film fans, was like appointment. Yeah, it was like, you gotta go. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be this, that, and the other. There was like 2-3 years in a row where it's like those Pixar movies were nominated for Best Picture, and it's like, oh man, this is really great and this is really special. And Toy Story 3 is great, but then it started to be like sequel of okay movie and The Good Dinosaur, and then the only one that kind of stood out was then Inside Out. Because if you look at like, there's that period of time where it's like Brave, where a lot of people were like, oh wow, Brave looks great. Brave looks like it's gonna be this like really cool movie about this young warrior girl, and then it ends up being like, oh, they just did Brother Bear again.
I think, but that was the whole mess of changing creative hands and all that.
Yeah, but I think the people were hopeful for that one because the last time that happened, where it was like this whole creative hands changed, the result was Ratatouille, which was Brad Bird.
Oh, really?
Brad Bird came on to Ratatouille at the end, and a lot of people consider Ratatouille their favorite Pixar movie.
Yeah.
So I think people were like, well, they'll figure it out, and it kind of just feels like Pixar went from like appointment to everyone's like, it's kind of another movie, they're doing fine, and it's a lot of sequels.
Right.
To the point where even I remember when Incredibles 2 was announced that they were making it, Pixar as a company, they had, because there was this much back, like people were like, cool, but then there was also a lot of people that were like, enough with the fucking sequels. That Pixar had to put out a press release that's like, don't worry, our plan now, because Pixar used to publicly be like, no sequels. After Toy Story 2, they were like, that's it, we don't want to do sequels, we're in the originality business. And then at some point, who knows why, it then became like sequel, and then the one original movie, people would go, that was okay.
Yeah.
Good dinosaurs, good Brave, good dinosaurs, they're fine.
Yeah.
People talk less about the stories and more about the tech.
Right.
Look how real the water was.
The hair really moves.
The hair is like real hair.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I'm very glad to hear Incredibles 2 is really good. And for the most part, the praise has been very high on it. But I do kind of I also understand when people are kind of like, all right.
Yeah, I think it's just Incredibles. Part of the reason, like I was saying, it stands out is because it's not your Pixar, here's where you cry and this and this and this happens, and then we learn like this important lesson about humanity, and it's like the most moving thing you've seen on animation. Like those films, when you say and then there's a sequel, it feels a little weird. Whereas Incredibles was never that.
No, it wasn't.
So Incredibles makes the most sense to add to because it's a very grounded family doing superhero stuff.
Yeah, and I think it also might just be the fact, too, that like they followed Inside Out with The Good Dinosaur. I think if they had done Inside Out, where a lot of people thought that was like a home run, because like there were articles being written where it's like, Pixar's back, with Inside Out.
Yeah.
And then like, I think the same year Good Dinosaur came out, so a lot of people were like, never mind. I mean, Coco was Coco, and everyone loved Coco, but it feels like Pixar used to just be like this like straight line of quality A+, gonna get nominated for everything, and now it feels like it's kind of doing this, and that's ignoring all the stuff behind the scenes.
Right. Yeah. I think in order for a company like Pixar to really thrive, maybe you really do need to change it up. I think if you can't just do sequel after sequel after sequel, you need to do one or two originals, then a sequel, one or two originals. Like you need to kind of mix it up a little bit so people don't feel like they're burned out by one property.
Yeah. And I think the difference, too, is like with something like, let's say the Marvel movies. Where it's like, well, there are tons of sequels in those. Is that I think like, it's not like the first like 6 Marvel movies were like these original properties that made people like weep. And change their perspective on art and all these other things. And then it's like, and now Iron Man 2. And you're like, what?
Okay.
But yeah, no, I definitely want to see it. I just time the last couple weeks has been hard.
For
So
sure.
that was the main thing. Because I did watch a lot on streaming, so I'll talk about some of those things. But yeah, no, I definitely want to go see it for sure before it leaves the theaters.
You should.
Yeah.
It's very good.
Yeah.
But going from that, we're going to go into our required viewing, which, Elizabeth, it was your pick.
Yeah.
What did you pick and why?
Speaking of Bradford.
I picked well, I kind of like when they're like paired a little bit with what we talk about just for
Sure.
the conversation. So I picked The Plague Dogs, which is I would say it's one of my favorite animated films that I don't want to watch all the time.
Yes.
So Martin Rosen made Watership Down, based off of the Richard Adams novel, and the same team followed that up with the other Richard Adams book, Plague Dogs, and it's basically kind of sort of a Waiting for Godot, or perhaps Rosencrantz's Guildenstern is better. It's like this duo on this journey, and they're not sure why, and everything seems to be going against them, and they talk about it. Only these are two dogs who escaped from a legal testing facility.
Yeah.
Right, I think around the start of World War II is when it's set.
I believe so.
So it's just following them on this journey. You have all this voiceover done about from the people, like an army commander and the guy who works at the lab, the scientist, kind of letting you know what's going on in the outside world, but you don't see it all. You kind of focus on just what the dogs are dealing with.
Yeah.
And you have one character who very much has this idea of humans are evil and that's why we're being treated this way, and then the other one who is just like, no, we did something bad to deserve this.
Yeah.
But they're both just kind of on this path to try and survive.
It's like Richard Adams' other books where he's using animals as an allegory for what's happening in Britain when he was growing up. So yeah, a lot of World War II. So the dogs are allegory for maybe Britain itself, where it's like, are people evil and therefore that's why we're at war, or did we as a country, is this karma coming back on us, that kind of a thing. Yeah, John Hurt is one of the voices of the dogs.
He is amazing, yeah.
And it's, as you would imagine, John Hurt as an abused dog is heartbreaking, as you would imagine. And Christopher Benjamin is the other dog.
Yeah, and he's a British actor who mainly did a lot of stage and television.
Yeah.
So he's better known in England.
So Adam, this was the first time watch for you.
I was expecting something more along the lines of Homeward Bound, and this was depressing as shit sometimes. The movie opens, I'm like, what is... I'd never seen this before, obviously. And the movie starts, and it just starts very dark, like tonally very dark. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is an interesting way for this movie to start. And it kind of stays in that tone for an hour and 40 minutes. And there's some moments where there's a little bit of levity, but mostly it's like a very... Like, this is not a movie that I would watch as a kid.
No.
Clearly. Like, it's not meant to be that. But it's really well done. Like, the animation is really well done. I really enjoyed watching the journey of these two dogs and sort of seeing their perspective and getting that. Because it could have just been two dogs just on a journey and could have just been whatever. But to get a little bit of perspective and context as to, like, the world they live in and how they view people and how people view them. And then you find out that they have this plague that they're carrying around, all this sort of stuff. And it was really interesting to see sort of these two different dogs and how, because, like, we look at dogs every day and we're like, oh, they're fun to play with, they're fun to hang out with. But there are times where you look at a dog and you're like, what is this dog thinking? Like, what does this dog think about the world, or like us walking around? Like, we'll never know, but it's just so fascinating to see something done in this sort of style and a bit more like adult themed. It was really well done. I really liked it. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, this was a movie Elizabeth had showed me years and years and years ago now at this point. And it feels, people watching, if you're aware of this kind of thing, it feels very British.
Yeah.
In some regards, which I really appreciate. And yeah, it is a sad movie, but it is saying some things. I think the voice acting is great.
Yeah.
I think the animation... there's something really great about like this era of animation when it wasn't Disney, because there's something kind of rough about it.
And they all move like dogs. All those movements are very, very realistic.
Yeah, and the ending. Oh man, the ending is such a punch in the gut. And we're making it sound like this is the saddest movie of all time. But if you are into like interesting, different kinds of films,
just like Studio Ghibli films or any.
I think that's if you're someone who's like Studio Ghibli, especially like something like Grave of the Fireflies, something like that. That's like it does leave you like but like it's worthwhile to see. And again, and so we might not have said. I know we said it last week when we picked the movie, but what was the connection for you?
Well, I think it's just when I saw the credits, and someone correct me if I'm wrong, the San Francisco team of animators who worked on this is so small, and Brad Bird's one of those people.
Yeah.
It's just this painstakingly, originally 95-minute. The version that was released in the U.S. and most countries, I guess, was like 75 minutes, and they cut out like 20 minutes that apparently made it harder to follow or the themes to line up, which makes sense, and they cut out a lot of the voiceover narration.
Oh wow.
So it took a while for I think it's only been in the last 10 years or so that the original length has been circulated. But just being on a film or starting with as a young animator on a film that was so dark but also kind of honest and had this hyper realism and detail, and being so intently involved in this small kind of crew of people making this thing before he like went on to these like much bigger projects.
Right. Yeah. So I have the book. I haven't read it yet because I'm like, but I do have it, and also that very. And the great thing about this too is if you look at the cover of the DVD, it does make it look like it's a fun dog movie.
I looked at the poster and I was like, "This looks a lot different than what I saw."
Wait, aren't there like guns in the poster?
There might be, but
I don't know. The one that I saw was just like the two dogs running across like a bunch of rocks.
Yeah.
I don't think the one I saw had a.
So to be fair, it's the two dogs being chased by a helicopter.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what it was.
You could easily think like this is gonna be an adventure.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
That's why I was like, Homeward Bound. No.
Yeah, no, this is not an adventure. But it is really, really, really good. And then that's why we like doing the required viewing segments. We love to kind of point movies out to you guys that you might miss. Now, this isn't on streaming. You'd have to go hunt down.
Dig it up. On Amazon or like try some other places.
But it's worth it. It's well worth it. And yeah, I think it could probably be worth putting the trailer in the description.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And check that out.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a great movie. I want to give credit real quick to Martin Rosen, who also Watership Down, which is on Criterion. And they did a beautiful transfer. What else has Martin Rosen done besides these two films?
This kind of stopped his career because it did not do very well at all.
Yeah, because I was looking and he had done some producing work. He was a producer, I think, what I read. And he had produced some stuff. The last stuff he had produced was like in 2001.
Yeah,
but it was like he's got a lot of gaps in his career.
Yeah, that's too bad. And then Richard Adams obviously has many works. Lived a very long time, but we should talk about Watership Down at some point too, because that's a hell of a movie. That's also like I know Watership Down because I feel like Watership Down's obviously the one everyone knows if they've heard of it, and I also know that was one of those. I don't know about the generation of kids now, but I know our generation. If you saw Watership Down, it like traumatized you as a kid.
Yeah, I would say that this is darker and on maybe less in your face way because they don't have those like
more of a mood
scenes like animals like ripping each other with their teeth, but they have just these dark moments where you realize what is happening, and it's just very bleak, and you have these long sequences of the animals walking through the British countryside, and it's beautiful, and then just the dialogue that's just them trying to figure out what's happening is just very and
seeing someone get their face blown off, and I was like, whoa, all right, cool. Cool. And that's pretty long ways in, and at that point I was already like, this is a different tone, and then get to that I'm like, very different tone. Yep.
Yeah, very different tone.
But it was great.
So yeah, guys, everybody, Plague Dogs, let us know if you check it out. Please definitely hit us up on Twitter or let us know in the comments down below. With that said, let's talk about the movies we're going to be talking about next week, and required viewing pick is mine. So I decided to kind of make it easy. I think we're going to be talking about Sicario 2.
Day of the Soldado.
Day of the Soldado, which is what we're going to be talking about next week.
Yeah.
So my required viewing is going to be the first Sicario.
That makes sense.
So that we're able to talk about it. And we actually might then do reverse order when we talk about it. We might talk about Sicario and then Sicario 2.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we're going to be doing next week. And actually, I'll say it is on Netflix. So also, if you wanted to, as like a secondary thing, is Wind River, which was Ty Sheridan's
directorial debut.
Debut, who wrote the Sicario movies.
Yeah.
It was his last movie. A lot of people didn't check it out yet, so that's on Netflix. That's also worth a poke. And what I like about Ty Sheridan's stuff is it's usually pretty tight. He's usually like he's a perfect example of what we've talked about a lot on the show is like an actor who became a writer.
Yeah.
So these great dialogue scenes and they're these tight little pulpy stories. So yeah, Sicario and Sicario 2 for next week.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll talk about it more next week about Taylor Sheridan, but
Taylor Sheridan, yes.
Yeah, his Hell or High Water, another one. I don't know if it's streaming out there, but
I think it's on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, you should definitely check that out too. I'm sure we'll get to these movies eventually, but yeah, it'll be an interesting conversation. I've heard mixed things about Sicario 2.
I have
Me too.
Which I'm a little bummed about because I love the first movie.
Yeah, I do
Spoilers.
too. But I also really wanted to highlight a couple of things on streaming that I got to see, again, because it's like up late. So Incredibles, there's no showings after 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
This stuff I can watch anytime I want at 3 o'clock in the morning when I'm up. So Too Funny to Fail. Have you heard about this? Too Funny to Fail is a documentary on Hulu. It's a Hulu original, and it's about the Dana Carvey show.
Oh, okay.
Which, for those of you who don't know, Dana Carvey was like a huge, like the biggest deal on SNL. He left, and then a year later started the Dana Carvey show on ABC. It only lasted 8 episodes, but the major things about it were who was involved with the show. So it was him and Robert Smigel, and then the head writer's room. And again, this is like 1992. The writer's room was Robert Smigel, Louis C.K., Charlie Kaufman, the guy who co-created 30 Rock and Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, one of the main Seinfeld writers. So it was like this group of people. And then the other big thing, too, is this was the first time people became aware, because they were cast on it, Steve Carell and Stephen Colbert. Like, nobody knew who these guys were. So the documentary talks to Dana Carvey, Robert Smigel, Colbert, Steve Carell, and a couple of the other writers. And they basically talk about, like, how they kind of became this run and gun group that they were like, we're going to do whatever we want, and this, that, and the other. And they were put on after Home Improvement. And they were all like, cool, great, that's the #1 show in the world. And they had no idea what Home Improvement was. And they all talked about that none of them watched it. So they just did this like crazy show. And the very first sketch, and it was like such a hyped about show. And they were marketing it though. Like Dana Carvey's like, hey, you all know like squeaky clean Dana Carvey. Having ABC having no idea that they hired like all these like crazy writers to create the show. Dino Stopolopoulos is another writer on there. Starburns on Community. And the very first sketch on their very first episode is Bill Clinton having multiple breasts, milking a dog, a cat, and a baby, and he had a big chicken butt. And a big part of the documentary is about how like the then president of ABC was like, oh my God, blah, blah, blah. And they talked about that 6 million people. This is back in the day when like now 6 million people watching any show is a huge deal.
Yeah.
6 million people stopped watching live at that point. Like they had minute by minute Nielsen's. So it just talks about like the journey of making the show, how they didn't care, and then they probably should have cared, and the show would have lasted longer. It was great. And I think if anybody's interested in comedy and comedians and stuff like that, it's really good watch. I also found it refreshing because it was one of the few documentaries about comedians that wasn't like sad.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, hey, you know this funny person? They actually wanted to kill themselves and were abused or abusive. This is just like, yeah, we didn't fucking care. We probably should have. And how they pissed off sponsors and all this other stuff. It's great. It's on Hulu. It's a Hulu original. And the other one I wanted to talk about, which Elizabeth, you're the one who turned me on to this, if you had finished it, is Hannah Gatsby's Nanette.
Nanette, yeah.
Did you finish this?
Mm-hmm.
Whoa, everybody. Nanette is a stand-up special that takes a turn, and I don't know how much to talk about, but Hannah Gatsby is a stand-up comedian from Australia, and she basically does like about 15 minutes of material, talking like basically what you would think is stand-up material, and then starts this sort of I don't know what you would call it, like.
Well, she announces several times that she's quitting comedy. She basically, if you don't know who she is, she's won. I forget the names of the awards, but she won like a huge award, in Australia 10 years ago for like her sort of like coming out show, and has won some shows. I think in, um, I mean, just sort of like around. She has never really made it to America before this, or been known. So she does this special that like has won some like Fringe or just otherwise awards over 2017, and like a couple big festivals. And this show, it starts off with, as you said, traditional stand-up. And then she talks about just basically her background. She's from Tasmania, which in a country that has some issues with homophobia and transphobia. Tasmania is like apparently crazy Bible Belt, to the point where it was illegal to participate in gay acts up till 97. And that's where she's from. So she talks about that and like all the stuff she's dealt with her life. And then at one point she just kind of stops the show and says, I've dealt with who I am through self-deprecation. And I'm not going to do that anymore. And that's why I'm quitting comedy. And then she talks about the show through a much more serious lens with stand-up jokes and bits, because she's an amazing artist at what she does. But it's very much a switching gears from it's a stand-up thing with bits of honesty to this is an honest, I'm laying it on you, and there are bits of stand-up in it.
Yeah.
And it's really powerful. And a lot of people have written about it since it came out about a week and a half ago.
Yeah, W. Kamau Bell, he has a Netflix special coming out, and he sent out a tweet going, I've become very comfortable with the fact that my show is the second best thing to come on Netflix. Praising her. Yeah, it was I put it on at 3 a.m, being like, oh, I'll put this on and watch a bit of it, and then I'm going to go to bed. And I finished the whole thing, and I was like choked up by the end of it. It's very powerful.
Yeah,
Wow.
I know a few people have said they started it and had to stop and come back to it another time because, sometimes it's not exactly what you expect to watch when you turn on a stand-up special.
Yes.
But yeah, it's very good.
Yeah, so Nanette, Hannah Gadsby's Nanette, it's on Netflix now, and definitely if you see any of these two things, again, like, it's such a juxtaposition to watch these two things, where one is like this raucous, we didn't give a shit, we're going to do whatever we want kind of comedy, and then the stand-up special where it's like, we need to give a shit, and I'm quitting comedy.
Yeah.
It's a real roller coaster. But yeah, check out both of these if you want to let us know what you think, please do. But going around, did you guys see anything else? Anything? I know you saw Ant-Man and Wasp, which I don't.
Oh
think,
yeah, that's right. I did.
Which I think will obviously have a larger.
I really liked it. I thought it was really good. I was really impressed that Peyton Reed was able to carry the tone over from the first one kind of flawlessly, especially because the first movie was very much. There's a lot of Edgar Wright in that movie,
right?
A lot of it, and I thought, okay, it'll be interesting to see what he does starting from scratch completely. Paul Rudd came in. There was I think 4 total people credited for helping to write the script.
This new one?
Yeah, Paul Rudd being one of them, and I think it was the same case for the last movie. So,
well, it's him and Adam McKay. Adam McKay also helped him.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, they came in, and I think they did like the Peyton Reed version of that movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it worked really, really well. I saw it in 3D. I thought the 3D was extremely well done. To me, I love when they do the macro and the micro stuff. It really adds a lot in 3D. There's some really cool action sequences. Other than that, without getting into spoilers, it's very entertaining and it's very funny. Like Michael Pena again is hilarious in this movie. Yeah, it was really well done. I really enjoyed it. It was great.
That's awesome.
I also saw Ocean's 8.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Which I did not like. I was really disappointed by it. It's such an amazing cast, and to me, it just completely stumbled completely. I didn't feel like there were any stakes in the heist at all. The heist is pulled off so flawlessly. Where the thing I like about Ocean's, my favorite of the 3 is Ocean's 11.
Sure.
I'm not crazy about 12 or 13. But I think the thing I like about that is it's funny. There's action. It's an adventure, but they also have to stumble before they succeed.
Right.
And in this one, there's a stumble, but it's so minuscule that it didn't really add anything to the movie, which is a bummer because I think, I hate saying it, but I think if Steven Soderbergh would have came in and directed this movie, kind of like what he did with Logan Lucky, but done his take, or sort of a new take on a story that we sort of know of, I think it could have been a lot better. But it's a huge bummer because I think the cast is so good and the performances are great. I think with what they have to work with, I think all around, I think they're great actresses, but they just were not given right script and story.
Yeah, it's from Gary Ross, who did the first Hunger Games, Seabiscuit, the Pleasantville, co-wrote Big.
Yeah.
So I think I was kind of hopeful because he's usually pretty decent at juggling multicast film. I haven't seen it yet, but yeah, I feel like I heard a lot of talk about it when it was coming out, and then it came out.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and that's the bummer. You know, I love Ocean's 11. And I really liked Logan Lucky. I was really surprised by how much I liked that movie. So I thought, okay, cool. If Soderbergh I think he was a producer on this movie.
Well, him and Gary Ross are friends. I know, I think on the first Hunger Games, Soderbergh was first. He did some shooting for Gary Ross on that film.
Yeah, yeah. So I was hopeful. I thought some of the trailers were good, but I just didn't think it played out as well as it could have. So it's a bummer.
What about you, Elizabeth? You seen anything?
I have not seen it yet.
No, anything else?
I saw the "Won't You Be My Neighbor," the Mr. Rogers documentary.
That trailer made me cry.
It's an amazing. I will say, it's one of those things where the documentary is good and the trailer is excellent.
Okay.
So I'm glad I saw it. I would recommend it. I mean, just our generation, I think it's such a big thing. I would say that a lot of the stuff that they do in the movie, though, there's a lot of clips that you've already seen that go viral on Reddit and Facebook every couple of years.
Gotcha.
And then they show people talking about him, but like, I feel like it's very... I mean, I wasn't expecting a twist. Basically, it's just everyone saying like, yeah, Fred Rogers is great, and here's why he was great. But then they don't make it mean something. They don't tie it to the larger world too much. Like,
gotcha.
Or if they had someone they don't talk about the effect that it has. Like, they interview Francois Clemens, I think is the guy on the show who played the policeman.
I believe so.
So StoryCorps did an interview with him about being on Mr. Rogers and his life that I felt like talked much more about, because he was a black gay man on the show during a certain time, and just kind of the whole foot washing thing we've all seen during, that he reprised with Fred Rogers towards the end of the show, and just the fact that also he was a closeted gay man and Fred Rogers was supportive of his personal life, but also like, you can't do that on the show because of what time it is, and just kind of that kind of conflict. And they interview him about it, and he just kind of says like, yeah, that's what happened, but like they don't really dig very much. There's one moment where they kind of like bring it into the audience a bit more, and I won't give it away, and then I'd say that's the most powerful point in the film by far, is when they sort of like there's one moment where they apply something he did and then have everyone that they interviewed do this thing, and by far that's the most powerful point of the film, and I wish there were more moments like that. As it is, it's like mostly just like a very nice documentary about a nice man.
Gotcha. Which
it's fun. It's fun to see. It feels good. You feel better coming out of it. But yeah,
I'm all for.
Yeah,
cool. So yeah, have you seen any of those movies? Or if there's anything else you've seen, guys, let us know down in the comments. But saying all that, let's jump into the trailers for movies that are coming soon. So this one is Welcome to Marwen.
Hey, looking good.
What is all of this?
The world-famous Marwen, Mark's art installation.
So that's the guy.
Yeah, it's right up there. Some Nazi thugs jumped him. It's a miracle he survived.
I was a hell of a good artist, and now I can barely write my name. So my dolls have to tell the story.
At your service, mademoiselle.
I just moved in across the street. I love all the details. Who are they?
They are Nazis torturing Hoagie.
Why?
Because he's different. The women of Marwen protect me.
You are saved.
A toast, just for you.
Are all of the dolls people you know?
Yeah, everyone has a place here in Marwen.
I just moved in across the street.
So are you gonna go to the sentencing?
You're a suffering human being. I want these guys to get more than just a slap on the wrist. It's important that you're there to look your assailant straight in the eye.
I'm not really sure how to do this.
When are you gonna man up and put an end to this crap?
What are you talking about?
We're one and the same, pal. If I can be a hero, so can you.
Maybe the dolls should stay in the car.
I never go anywhere without my backup.
Learning the
like hell.
Gotta embrace that pain.
I believe I've waited long enough.
It's the only way Mark's gonna heal.
I got your back, Hoagie. Bottoms up, girls.
What do you think this is? The Indy 500? Go, go, go! More ammo! More ammo!
Thought I heard you yelling for more gumbo.
No, no gumbo.
You gotta love the pain. Pain is our rocket fuel.
I have my art, and I have my friends. I have hope, and I'll be okay.
Hell yeah.
That's kind of violent. But at least the Nazis are dead.
It's also real quiet.
Yeah.
Lucas, it was real quiet out here. Is there what? Thank you, buddy. Okay, this is for those of you who don't know, there's a great documentary called Marwen Call. That's the true story of this guy who got beat up, and the way he was trying to help himself was by taking photos of these toys.
Yeah.
These figures. So this is, I guess, the second time Robert Zemeckis is taking a well-known documentary and making a fictionalized version. The other one being the Walk.
The Walk, yeah.
Which was a famous documentary. I don't know. It's hard for me because I know that documentary so well, and I think doing like I don't know. There's a part of me that does mentally kind of think like. Again, some of the effects look really cool. I love that cast. Robert Zemeckis has made a lot of great movies, but there is a part of me that kind of feels like, oh, you took like an interesting, cool little documentary, and you're like, let's make a movie, and we're gonna have the Foo Fighters do the trailer.
I will say the soundtrack doesn't help.
It's weird. I feel very conflicted on this one because I was kind of like, and honestly, I think I'm just giving it the benefit of the doubt because it was Robert Zemeckis. I think if it was another director's name, I would have gone like,
no,
ugh.
Yeah.
Definitely taking that Ant-Man route with the photography of like, oh, Ant-Man did it, we could get away with it then too. Make these little soldiers and stuff. And I'm like, it looks kind of cool. It could be good, but I don't know. I don't know how sold I am based on this trailer.
Yeah, I like the cast, and I'm not saying the movie needs to be heavy,
right?
But the documentary is a great documentary, and y'all should definitely go seek it out. But yeah, that was one of those things where I was kind of like, yeah, it's interesting. I didn't know they were making this movie. This was like until today, literally, when it was like, oh, here's one of the trailers we're gonna watch. And I was like, oh, they made a fictionalized version of the Marwen Call documentary, and now seeing this with the Foo, and I like the Foo Fighters, but with the Foo Fighters on the trailer, I was kind of like,
what?
Wow, this is like the most like.
I mean, part of the thing is the trailer does feel very close to a parody of what Hollywood does this documentary would be.
We're gonna make a movie out of it. We'll like, a comedy guy in
and we're gonna make a joke version of Hollywood's version of this documentary. It would feel and look very close to this. So I think that's the feeling we all have, where it's like feels a little icky, even though it's a Zemeckis and like some of the effects do look cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is that feeling you have like a big guy with a cigar.
Yeah.
My wife was telling me about this crazy movie about this guy who took pictures of toys. Let's go to make that. Did you watch it?
Who's in right now?
Give me the Foo Fighters. My daughter loves Foo Fighters. They'll do the score.
Jesus
we'll get that 40-year-old virgin and that Judd Apatow wife. She's got a name. I don't know.
Let's make the movie.
Let's make the movie. Hire that Gump guy. He hasn't done anything since Castaway, sir. That's not true. Prove me wrong. You're fired.
Oh my god.
No one's gonna know what a margin call is. I'll just call it welcome to margin, whatever.
Can this be a character you do every week, please?
Studio head.
So how you feel about the Nun trailer?
We'll see.
Okay.
I had a series of visions when I was younger. And after each one ended, the same thought would be stuck in my head.
What did you see?
I saw a nun. Word of my visions reached the church, and I was asked to accompany a priest to an abbey in Romania.
The Abbey has a long history.
Valak.
Not all good.
What?
Finley came down. Callahan's here.
Oh, damn. Fuck you! Movie!
Was that the end we were supposed to watch too? Like, are people turning it off?
Yeah.
When it's like she's walking in
Down,
there, like-
turn it off. Well, I guess that was the end.
I guess that was the end.
I hope they put that on comedy trailers now too. Watch to the end. There's a joke.
Don't leave, you're gonna miss the joke. Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. Who do we know who made this? Who made this one? So I will say, I like the first two Conjuring movies. Actually, I'm one of the rare people who likes The Conjuring 2 more than 1.
Oh, interesting.
My big problem with the first Conjuring is that the third becomes an Exorcist remake, and that's always kind of been my problem with. And I like James Gunn a lot, but my big problem with
James Wan.
James Wan. And even though he didn't make these other movies, the kind of James Wan Presents sort of thing, and he's producing this one as well.
Yeah,
is that they kind of have that thing of like, oh, cool, spooky kind of creepiness. The nun's gonna walk down the hallway. It's quiet, man. That's awesome. Kind of the stuff we liked about Hereditary. And then the third act always becomes like, blah, 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 thing popping out, things are flying, and it's like, wait, what happened? This was like a slow burn movie, and now things are flying, and there's like CG, and all of a sudden, like,
turned into Infinity War. What's happening?
Why? What the fuck? So I don't know, but I think the two Annabelle movies are not good.
I saw the first one.
Yeah, they're not good, but the two Conjuring movies are good. So this was, for those who don't know, the nun was a character in the Conjuring, the second Conjuring. And so this is, and then they announced they're like, we're gonna do the nun. This is gonna be the next part of the Conjuring universe.
Yeah.
The nun.
Is this the same producer?
No, it's a different guy.
Okay, cool.
Different producer. And so I don't know. I mean, that looks good. That looks kind of creepy.
Yeah.
We'll see. There's also a teaser because it comes out in
Yeah.
September.
Yeah.
But I'll go with that.
I think in Comic-Con we'll probably get another trailer. I wouldn't be surprised next month.
Yeah.
I don't understand also the trend of the Conjuring movies where we do Conjuring 2, then we do two prequels, and then we do two prequels to the prequels. Because this takes place, because Annabelle Creation, or whatever those movies are called,
Yeah.
that takes place before the Conjuring, and this takes place before all of that.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't get that whole thing of just like, is it because they don't want to make sequels that they then have to like answer questions to in Conjuring 3?
Well,
and, or I don't know.
it gives you a chance to do more of a genre
Sure.
film,
Yeah.
which that's always fun. Like, I mean, just on a very basic level, that trailer is more interesting to me because like it's a castle and it has the cool costumes and
Yeah.
a cool setting, and
And the
so like
lighting
it's
was
not
dope.
like, you know, a teenager right now
Sure.
screaming in a house. Like it's like, oh, okay.
Conjuring series, it goes backwards in time, which could be interesting. I don't know.
And
If you-
Exorcist did that a couple times.
to build an entire franchise just going in the reverse direction of just telling like, how did we get here? How did we get here?
Yeah.
But so I haven't seen Conjuring 2, and I only saw one of the Annabelles, and I can't remember which one it was. But I think it was Annabelle. Is Annabelle Creation the first?
Annabelle took place in a crappy apartment. Annabelle 2 took place like on a farm.
Okay, Annabelle the first one then. That's
Okay.
the one I saw. Yeah. Yeah, that one was
yeah.
real bad.
I've not seen Conjuring 2, but I did do the Universal Studios because they have rights to the property. Their haunted horror walkthrough of Conjuring 2.
Oh, really?
Which is very good. Probably the best ones they had.
Nice.
Yeah,
A lot of good imagery.
So yeah, I'd recommend Conjuring 2. But I will say the nun does look like Marilyn Manson.
Yeah.
Circa when he was big, like Dope Show 1999 Marilyn Manson.
That's hilarious. I didn't think about that until you said it. It's true.
Where's the sample? Volkov isn't a good man to disappoint.
Your friend sold some diamonds.
My diamonds.
Fakes. High quality.
It's not real.
The best I've ever seen. But no.
The friends that you have now, they're cheating you.
This is a problem, I assume.
One of many.
Your responsibility was to procure a sample, a single diamond.
Go home now, before it's too late.
You're in some sort of trouble, I think.
If I can just draw on your patience.
Patience, Mr. Hill, is like air in a sealed room. No matter how much you start with, eventually you'll run out.
Come on in. Let's do business.
The diamonds are good?
Ain't me yet.
Not a great trailer.
Swear loyalty
oh,
by
there's more.
becoming blood brothers. So if we're not brothers, maybe we're not friends either.
What? Okay.
Man, here's the thing I'll say. So, like, cinematography, the way the movie looks fine. But that's a perfect example of like why making trailers are kind of their own art.
Yeah.
And sometimes picking the right music. 'Cause this, like, that music that they had for this trailer had like no rhythm or anything to
nothing.
it. It's just kind of sporadic sounds.
That almost would work better for a horror movie, I feel like.
Yeah.
And I'm not entirely sure what this film is about. And
Nope.
it's not like a Marvel movie where there's going to be 4 trailers.
Yeah.
Has to do with the diamond.
I hope that Keanu Reeves' career doesn't sort of go the same route like Liam Neeson, where he did Taken, and now everyone is just like Taken 2, Taken 3, this
Well,
movie, that
I'm
movie.
excited about that film he has coming out with
Winona Ryder.
in
Yeah.
August. That looks
Oh,
fun.
Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
That looks like a really good time. So I don't know. Not a fan of that.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Be an adventure.
First man to walk on the moon. That'd be something.
We've chosen a job so difficult, requiring so many technological developments. We're gonna have to start from scratch. Only after we master these tasks do we consider trying to land on the moon.
Neil, if this flight is successful, you'll go down in history. What kind of thoughts do you have about that?
We're planning on the flight being successful.
Damn, that is a big mother.
It'll go up like a half-kiloton A-bomb if it blows.
The vehicle's not safe.
We need to fail down here so we don't fail up there.
This isn't just another trip, Neil. You're not just going to work.
Do you think you're coming back?
There are risks, but we have every intention of coming back.
Somebody got a Swiss Army knife?
A Swiss Army knife? Are you kidding me?
Here we go.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Do you question whether the program's worth the cost in money and in lives?
You're down here and you look up and you don't think about it too much, but space exploration changes your perception. And it allows us to see things that we should have seen a long time ago.
We have serious problems.
We've got this under control.
You're a bunch of boys. You don't have anything under control.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. I really liked Damien Chazelle's other 2 films, La La Land and Whiplash. I really enjoyed. That's a hell of a cast, and I always have a kind of a soft spot for moon exploration. I think of documentaries about, I think I've watched more the first missions to the moon stuff than anything else, and they always kind of get me. Criterion has a couple. I loved the Ron Howard. I think it was Ron Howard produced this documentary series. Called, I think it was called like When We Went to the Moon or something like that, and it was on Discovery Channel, and I got that on Blu-ray, and that's like talking to all the people who are still alive. It came out like 5 years ago, so some of those people even now have passed away. But about all they went through and all the different missions and the things that went wrong, the people who died, and all this other stuff. Obviously, Apollo 13 from Earth to the Moon, stuff like that is always in different missions, obviously. But yeah, I think that looks great, and I like actually the way it's shot, because I think like a lot of times now, whenever NASA stuff gets shot, everyone's kind of just doing the right stuff.
Yeah.
It's all kind of shot that way. And I love the right stuff, but it's all very much shot like kind of from a distance and all this other stuff, and everything's really brightly lit so you can see how white everything is and all this. And I kind of like the way this one looked and felt.
Yeah. No, I'm excited for it. I'm in the same boat. I really like Whiplash and I love La La Land. I was really excited when he announced that he was going to be doing a Neil Armstrong movie with Ryan Gosling. It's weird to me that this movie hasn't really been made yet to this extent.
I think it's usually they usually make it an ensemble film.
Yeah,
they usually whenever they talk about the first missions to the moon, they always make it like an ensemble. That was like the right stuff. They make it like an ensemble movie where it's like, here's the group of men who are able to do this.
Yeah,
and they have not really done the personal. I think the closest one would be Apollo 13 because you got to know Tom Hanks and his wife in that film, Jim Hubble.
Yeah.
But and Claire Foy looks good. I love that Claire Foy's killing it now.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like she's like between this and the girl who kicked the spider web, or whatever that dragon tattoo fourth one is called. I'm like, hey, cool. I like Claire Foy. Keep putting her in stuff.
Yeah.
I'm for it.
And I know they shot some of this movie. I don't know how much of it, but some of it was shot in IMAX. So I'm excited to see it in IMAX on IMAX film when it comes out later this year. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
Well, let's check out this one. This one was one people wanted us to watch last time and we missed.
Because we watched like 15 other ones.
Yeah.
The El Royale is a bi-state establishment. You have the option to choose a room in either California or Nevada.
How'd you end up at the El Royale?
The Ritz-Carlton was booked.
This place used to be hustling and bustling. Old Dean Martin even sang a song about it once.
This is not a place for a priest, Father. You shouldn't be here.
We might need to work on your sales pitch, son. The El Royale, no place for a priest.
Wow.
This old heart of mine's been broke 1,000 times. Each time you break away, I think you're gonna stay. Lonely nights that come, memories that flow, bring
You watching me?
I only watch who they tell me to watch.
Who's they?
Management.
Baby, it's my
Would you mind opening up the door?
No, I ain't gonna do that.
each day that passes by.
We have to get as far away from him as possible.
Howdy.
Oh, Lucas, your friend's in this movie.
I'm not really a priest.
Yeah. No shit.
That looks really fun.
Yeah.
I'm really into that.
Drew Goddard, who I love Drew Goddard's stuff. He's a guy, because he did Cabin in the Woods, which was great.
Yep.
Screenwriter, written a lot of great stuff, and it's always like he's one of those guys who kept getting announced for things, and then they didn't happen. He was supposed to do a Spider-Man spinoff, and then that's when Marvel got Spider-Man back.
Yep.
So that didn't happen. He was supposed to do this other thing, that didn't happen. So I'm excited to see him back because this looks great.
Yeah,
this looks really, really great.
I like the tone. I like the style. I like just everything about it. Looked really, really good.
It's a hell of a cast.
Yeah, and then after this, he's going off to do X-Force.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Not Deadpool 3.
Yeah. Exactly.
What do you think of that one, Elizabeth?
Yeah, no, it looks like a lot of fun. Speaking of TV actors being in movies, it's fun. It's always fun to see John Hamm and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. Between this and Baby Driver, really enjoyed John Hamm. Has any of us seen Tag?
I haven't yet. That's the one I really want to go see. Yeah, I've heard good things about it. So
maybe we'll try and talk about that next week too.
Yeah,
Let's get around to it. So this one's gonna be interesting. This is Mandy. For those of you who don't know, from the writer director who did the Black Rainbow, or Under the Black Rainbow, or Beneath the Black Rainbow. That was a film where that trailer blew up like 6-7 years ago. Because it was this weird, creepy horror film that people said was very Kubrick-esque, and the guy has not done anything till now. And he's a movie with Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
Under the crimson, primordial sky, the wretched warlock reached into the dark embrace. His fist closed around the serpent's eye. Strange and eternal.
I need you to get me that girl I saw. You know what to do. You're a special one, Mandy. I, too, am a special one. Let us be so very special together.
So what you gonna do with that thing?
I'm going hunting.
So what you hunting?
It's crazy evil. You think you're so in love? I'll show you love. Oh man, they wronged you. You exude the cosmic darkness.
It glowed from within, strange and eternal.
Oh, goddamn.
That's awesome.
I'm all in for that.
Yeah, I don't know what that is, but I'll see it.
Well, apparently, so it was at Sundance. Apparently, like, people went apeshit for this movie.
Yeah.
Like, they were losing it.
That looks great. That speaks to me in like a so weird, but like, and here's the thing, it might not work. I might walk away from that movie going like 3 out of 5, but there's some crazy images.
Yeah.
But this chainsaw, though.
I'm glad I saw that thing, so I'm not going to see that thing anywhere else.
Yeah, which I appreciate. I've always like, to me, I always like a movie that's like not a perfect 5 out of 5, but sometimes it's like a 3 or 4. But you're like, God, there's some interesting shit in that movie, and I'm thinking about it a lot more than like a perfect film. Yeah, that looks great. And I mean, you know, Nicolas Cage is an actor that a lot of people kind of make fun of, understandably, but he's still like, you know, the stuff he did with Werner Herzog was great. He's still a guy who can occasionally put in like a hell of a performance in a good movie. He did Joe a couple years ago, and I thought that was great. Yeah, this looks like a blast.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. Ridiculous. I love it.
We got this.
You heard me?
In the ring, you got rules. Outside, we got nothing. Life hits you with all these cheap shots. People like me, we live in the past. You got people that need you now. You got everything to lose. This guy's got nothing to lose.
I ain't got a choice.
That's the same thing your father said, and he died right here in my hands. Listen to me, this guy is dangerous.
But you don't think I could beat him? I was afraid I couldn't live up to these expectations.
I got loyalty inside my DNA.
You don't think you got your validation?
I got loyalty inside my DNA. I got loyalties, got war and peace inside my DNA. I got power, poison, pain, and joy inside my DNA.
I want to rewrite history.
Don't pretend this is about your father.
I was born like this, is born like this. Immaculate conception, I transform like this, perform like this. Wish out you a new weapon, I know contemplate. I meditate, then off your plate. This that pull against the bed. This that I got.
It may not seem like it now, but this is more than just a fight.
Loyalty. I got loyalty inside my DNA.
Elizabeth, what did you think about that?
What? Why are you going to me first? I mean, I don't know. I'm not like, I've seen some of the Rocky movies.
Did you see Creed?
And no.
Okay, so Creed is one of my favorite movies of the last couple of years, but I also love the Rocky series. But I think it's so good and so well done, and Ryan Coogler simultaneously paid homage to the Rocky series while creating something totally different and new. I think Michael B. Jordan, I think everyone in that cast is great. It's a really, really, really well done, simple but powerful film. So then when they announced Creed 2, it was like, Coogler is busy with Black Panther. The other screenwriter, Aaron Covington's not on it. This is Sylvester Stallone's writing it, and then Stallone was going to direct it, and then they brought another director. So there's a lot of question marks going into this one. And even though Stallone had made all the Rockies, there's still like a degree of like, ooh, that kind of what kind of made Creed cool was that it was this very hard, new, different thing. This trailer came out, and I am excited. I don't know if it'll have the same. And Stallone didn't end up directing it. He handed it to another young African American director. But that said, yeah, I'm excited for this. I loved Creed. And I'm totally cool with the story continuing and it being this grudge match with Drago or Drago Jr.
Yeah. I feel the same way about Creed. I loved it. I think the thing that I also loved about Creed was the fact that it wasn't Sylvester Stallone thinking of like, how can we keep the Rocky franchise alive? Because after Rocky Balboa, he was done.
Yes.
He said what he wanted to say with the character. So it was really Ryan Coogler who came to him and said, I have this really cool idea of how we can pass on the torch, but still keep Rocky sort of alive in this universe, and be doing Creed. So the thing now that, and I think it's a really good trailer, but I think the thing that I hope does not happen, I hope we just don't retell the Rocky story with Adonis Creed, because this has things that I'm like, this happened in Rocky 2. This is now we're bringing Rocky 2, we're bringing Rocky 4. You know, I think no matter what you do, there are going to be things that sort of repeat themselves, and I don't think that's bad. But I just hope that we don't get to a point where it's Adonis Creed every single movie trying to either fulfill some sort of like inner fantasy of being the next Apollo, or him constantly feeling like he has to prove his worth.
Right.
Because I thought what Creed did so incredibly well was he wants to sort of live up to the name, but also he wants to move away from it, and he proves himself, but he doesn't necessarily come out a champion at the end of it.
Right.
Which I really like. I like the fact that, you know, he got to this point where he now has sort of accepted, or it seems like he's accepted sort of who he is and how different he is from his father. And he doesn't, you know, he embraces the identity of being a Creed, but he's not Apollo. And I just hope that this movie doesn't sort of go back on that and being like, well, I want to be either better than my father, or I need to live up to what my father was.
Right.
And that's sort of what worries me about Sylvester Stallone writing it. It's not Ryan Coogler coming in with Aaron Covington and saying, this would be a really great way to
next
now
chapter.
Do the next chapter of the story. So I'm excited for it. I thought it's a great trailer, but I still miss the fact that it's not Ryan Coogler. And the fact that this movie started shooting after Black Panther, I think, had wrapped.
Yeah.
I don't understand why they couldn't make it work.
I gotta let you borrow Creed.
Yeah. It's really good. I was surprised. I went into it thinking, please be good. And like Cameron said, it's one of the best movies of 2016, and Sylvester Stallone gives an incredible performance. All right, final trailer. Hopefully this trailer is better than the first Predator teaser.
Do you know what my job description is? I'm in acquisitions. I look up and I catch what falls out of the sky.
What's on the ship?
Tell me about the mission. Did you see anything unusual?
It's above our pay grade. Do I get a cookie now?
Look, I get it. Something went down in Mexico. Nobody wants any witnesses.
We need to know if you and your men pose a threat.
We're Rangers.
Hey, Baxley, if your mom's vagina were a video game, it'd be rated E for everyone.
Isn't posing a threat kind of the fucking point? Predators just don't sit around making hats out of rib cages. They conquered space. But that's not what's on the horizon.
Should I be worried?
Riley.
I think you know what is on the ship.
What
the ultimate predators.
Light him up!
We may die.
We're still here. So come and get us, motherfucker.
Definitely a better trailer than the last one.
Much better trailer. Yeah, I'm excited about this. I really enjoy Predators. The first Predator movie I think is great. The second Predator movie is has some real cheesy stuff that's really enjoyable. Alien vs Predator movies are terrible as hell. But then the Robert Rodriguez Predators I actually really liked, and I kind of feel like people sort of forgot about it in a weird way. But I really, really kind of dug that movie. Not a perfect movie, but there's a lot about it I really like. Here's the thing. I have no doubt that this movie, for the most part, will bomb. I think people just do not care. I will say this. I don't know if people care about The Predator as much as 20th Century Fox wants us to care about The Predator.
That and Alien, I don't feel like.
Well, for a film series, because at least Alien and Aliens were like two massive hits.
Yeah.
And even Alien 3, people don't like it, but it was a massive hit.
Sure, yeah.
You can at least look at the majority of that franchise and go, huge hit, Prometheus,
at least
huge
the trilogy, yeah.
Predator's kind of just the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they've made like 5 subsequent films, and they've all done okay. But I guess that was part of getting Shane Black involved, is 20th Century Fox wanted Shane Black, and he basically said, no, because you guys don't treat these like big deals. They're like pieces of crap that you put $30 million behind, and I'm not going to work on a movie that you're just going to be like, oh, here it is. And they went, no, we'll give you a budget. We'll treat it like an A picture, and you can bring on anyone you want. So he brought on Fred Decker, who was the writer and director of Night of the Creeps, and they co-wrote together Monster Squad.
Yeah.
And this is the first time they've worked together since Monster Squad, at least as far as in a writing together something capacity, as far as I know. So this is the first time these guys have worked together since 1985.
Wow.
And yeah, I don't know. I like the cast. I like the Predators. The idea of the bigger, badder Predator. Robert Rodriguez's film also kind of did, where it was like the Mega Predator, which I'm like, yeah, I'm fine with all this. Like, I don't know, how. I don't know. And this showed a lot more action than the first trailer.
Yeah.
And it's Shane Black. And again, like I'm going to stand by what I said the first trailer, which is Shane Black stuff is much more known for its like dialogue and back and forth and lines that people quote. Lethal Weapon, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, Long Kiss Goodnight, so on and so forth. And action movie trailers don't really lend themselves to great dialogue moments.
Yeah.
So we'll see, but I am very excited for this.
Yeah, same. I mean, I've enjoyed the Predator franchise for better or for worse, except for those Alien vs. Predator ones. God damn it, they're so terrible. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to it. I also Shane Black, movie that recently that he did, Nice Guys.
Nice Guys, great.
Very underrated movie. I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was really fun. I'm hoping that with this we get all that action that we saw in the trailer. But yeah, I hope we have great moments with these characters and that it's not just throwaway characters that I don't care about. I mean, I don't need to be so invested in them because for me personally, it's more about the Predators. Like that's what I'm there for. But I want to care enough that if something cool happens with these characters, that I'm like rooting for them. Hopefully, so we'll see.
What do you think of it, Elizabeth?
I mean, it looks definitely more well done. It's like a more solid trailer than the other one. So.
Yeah,
the teaser was rough for me.
Yeah, not the best teaser in the world. So yeah, but let us know what you guys think in the comments of the trailers we watched, and also if there's any trailers that we didn't watch that you guys are like, you should check this out, because then we can just watch it next week. But guys, thank you so much. Going around the table, Elizabeth, where can people find you online?
Instagram and Twitter at Ford Prefects Kid.
Adam.
Just at Adam Hlavik. Check out the latest episode of Hyper Heroes, and make sure you guys also check us out on Patreon. Patreon.com/hyperrpg.
That's for me. You can find me on Twitter.com/Jurassic Alien. And also, if you want to hear me in a more spoilery way break down the difference between the characters in Jurassic Park and Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, go to my YouTube, youtube.com/Jurassic Alien, where I talked about that while playing a Batman video game. It
was great.
I really molded a lot of things together like a Play-Doh Fun Factory, y'all. But y'all, thank you so much for checking this out. And yeah, make sure to go in those comments, let us know what you guys think, and we'll catch you all next time on the next Universe.